It's Thursday night. The weekly spelling list is on the kitchen table. You've been drilling these words with your child all week long, but your child is still staring at them as if they've never seen them before. Frustration is mounting for everyone, and tears are beginning, and you're thinking, why won't these words just stick? Well, if you have a struggling speller, you're not alone. You'll want to stay tuned, and I'll share actual techniques that OG tutors use with struggling spellers that can make all the difference. Well, hello everyone. My name is Tracy Young, OG tutor extraordinaire, founder of theliteracykeys.com, and most importantly, mom of a dyslexic daughter. Welcome to my podcast, where you'll discover ways to unlock your child's reading potential. I'll share tips, strategies, and war stories that have happened along the way, because everyone deserves to be able to read. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the Literacy Keys. Now, on the last episode, we talked about how to use a multisensory approach for struggling spellers. And I talked a lot about the theoretical. These are children that try and try, but can't quite figure out how to spell words. They struggle because they haven't cracked the spelling code. So when I started this podcast, I promised tips and strategies. So today, I'm going to share specific tips that you can use if you have a struggling speller. Now, before we jump into the how, let's quickly cover the why. Why does just looking at a word and repeating it or writing it once or twice fail so many kids? And the reason, it's because struggling spellers often don't have a strong system for storing and retrieving words in the brain. Simply put, the information isn't being filed correctly in their brain's library, so they can't find the word when they need it. This is where a multisensory approach comes in and can really help. Instead of just relying on sight, you want to engage as many senses as possible. Sight, sound, touch, movement, whatever works. I like to think of this as, instead of building one shaky bridge to memory, we're going to build a strong 4-lane highway. We want to create more connections in the brain that make learning last, and it's easier to retrieve. Now, it's not magic, and it's something you can do at home with your child. All you need, a piece of paper, a rough textured towel, and some regular spelling words. You can also use a small cookie sheet with a thin layer of salt, but I don't like wasting the salt or cleaning it up, so I tend to use a scratchy towel. Let's start with 3 one-syllable words, each one teaching a slightly different concept. And this is really important because too often when the spelling lists come home from school, it's an arbitrary list. There's no rhyme or reason on why these words are on the list. So the first thing you need to do when spelling is you want to work in a very systematic fashion so that the words are regular for spelling initially and are all selected for 1 or 2 concepts. Otherwise, you're asking way too much initially. So let's get into the specifics. The key steps for spelling are look, listen, echo, and write. Let me say that again. Look, listen, echo, and write. And let me demonstrate with a few examples. Let's say I want to spell the word map. This is a simple CVC word which stands for consonant, vowel, consonant, which is the pattern of the letters in the word. Now, some of you may be rolling your eyes, just like your kids, saying that word is too simple. But what's important is, with your struggling speller, they have been defeated for so long. Take the time to kind of give them a confidence boost. Start with some easy words, because what you're doing is you're focusing on the steps. The steps are the same, whether it's a one-syllable word or a multi-syllable word. And that's what you want to get them used to. So look, have your child watch your mouth as you say the word. Watching your mouth helps them determine the sounds in the word. Second, listen. Next, we include auditory by getting their ears involved. You say the word to your child that you want them to spell. You use it in a sentence for context, and then you repeat the word a second time. It would go something like this. The word is map. Let's find the North Pole on a map. The word is map. All right, so that's listen. Then the next part, the third part, is echo. And this is actually really important because you want them to say the word. And this is for multiple reasons. You want to make sure that they heard the right word. And it's going to help them identify the sounds. So you don't want to skip over the echo portion. And this is how this would go. Ask them to repeat the word they're going to spell. So, what is the word you're going to spell? And you have them echo back to you, map. Next, we go into writing. And this part is actually multi-step. First, you want them to identify the individual sounds in the word. I like to use my fingers. Start with a closed fist. Use your thumb for the first sound, and then continue to your index finger. All right? So you would say, okay, what are the sounds? Map. P. Second, you identify how many sounds they heard. Many struggling spellers do not hear all the sounds, and this is why you're having them echo, you're having them use their fingers, so that you can see and correct it long before they even get to the point of trying to spell the word. If you're seeing that they are not necessarily getting all of the sounds, then you can say, let's do this together, right? So that you model it for them. Third, we need to associate the letter or letters that makes the sound. What sound do you hear? What letter makes the sound? And so forth. Fourth, we can then write the appropriate letter or letters for each sound. Let's write the letter M, and then you go on to the next sound. A. What letter or letters makes an A sound? You'll have them write the letter A. Now, this step isn't a handwriting exercise. So unless what they have written is absolutely horrific and you don't have a clue what the letter is, save the corrections for a separate lesson. This lesson is all about sounds and mapping them to letters. You would simply make a note of the letter and work on it at a different time. Fifth, you check the word by reading what is written. You have them use their fingers to underline the letters in the word and read what the letters say. and you make any necessary corrections. So let me just quickly go through it. So you would say, look, all right, I want you to watch my mouth, point to the mouth as I say the words. Now, listen, okay? The word is map. Let's find the North Pole on a map. The word is map. Echo. You're going to ask them to repeat it back. So what is the word that you're going to spell? And they should say map. All right, now let's write it. Let's use our fingers. Let's break apart the sounds. All right, map. A, p. I have 3 fingers. You say, how many sounds did you hear? And there are 3 fingers. They should be showing 3 fingers, and you can be showing 3 fingers. Let's go through each one. What letter makes a sound? Then they write the letter M. A. What letter makes an A sound? They should be writing the letter A. P. What letter makes the P sound? And they write the letter P. Then they go through and they read it. A, P. Blend, map. All right, you're good. Now, this may seem like a ridiculous amount of steps for spelling, but they're truly necessary to become a proficient speller. Remember when I shared that Orton Gillingham is a multisensory and systematic? Well, I wasn't kidding. The process uses ears, eyes, voice, touch, as many senses as possible, and each step is taught and practiced until it's mastered. Right? Mastered means they can do it within 3 seconds. And that time element is important because if they're taking too long, it means that it's not in long-term memory. It means they haven't mastered it to the point of automaticity. Too often, if they don't have automaticity, it's not in long-term memory. So by breaking it down into smaller steps, this will also help you see where they're struggling. It's possible that they don't know all of the sounds and the corresponding letters. In English, we have 26 letters, but we have 75 sounds, not including an additional 25 sounds that are like advanced, and we don't have to worry about those for now. So it's really important. And one of the things I see a lot is that children don't know all the sounds. Many children don't realize that the letter S has 2 sounds. It has a voice sound and an unvoiced sound. So it will say S or Z, depending. Now I can flip that around and say, when you hear the sound Z, what 2 letters do you have to think about? A child should be able to say Z or S. And the rules of which one you use are based on the position. But more on that later. Let's try another word. This one has a digraph. A digraph are 2 letters that make 1 sound. We see them all the time in the English language, and not everyone knows what a digraph is. All right? This one is about digraph SH. So we always start by saying, look, listen, echo, and write. So first, watch my mouth. Second, the word is ship. The Pilgrims took a ship to sail to the New World. The word is ship. Ask them to echo. All right, can you say the word back to me? Have them repeat, ship. Then we're going to break it apart. Let's identify the sounds. Sh, I, p. I have 3 sounds, and you're showing them 3 fingers. what letter or letters corresponds to these sounds? Sh. Well, that's digraph SH. I. That's I. P. That's P. Your child will write the letters digraph SH. So those are written together. I and P. Now let's blend what we wrote to check it. Sh. I. P. Blended ship. Yes, that's the word. So you kind of see how this is working? Now, let's do another one. Let's try a word with another syllable type. This syllable type is vowel consonant E, which is sometimes known as magic E. It's really important that the child be familiar with this type of syllable long before you're trying to have them spell words with this syllable type, right? They need to know the E is silent and the vowel says its name, right? That is the pattern. When you see those words, that is how you read it. And if I break it down, when I hear a long vowel, this is one of the possibilities for how I spell it. Too often, spelling lists, as I mentioned earlier, they involve arbitrary words and there's no rhyme or reason. When you are working with your child on spelling, you want to control the variables, right? It's really focusing on the sound to letter link or correspondence, right? So just do like one type of word. Over time, you'll build up to something much more advanced. And by focusing on one type of word, it reduces the frustration and reinforces the concept. And remember, they're struggling because they haven't gotten the concept in long-term memory. So now, let's start with a vowel consonant E word. The word is bite. All right, look, watch my mouth. The word is bite. Careful, or the dog will bite you. The word is bite. What word are you going to spell? Wait until they say bite. Perfect. Now, let's go through and break it apart into sounds. First sound, let's see the sounds. Bite. B, I, T. 3 sounds. So the first one, what letter or letters corresponds to those sounds? B. Letters B. I. Let's try I. T. The letter is T. So we write B-I-T. Now let's read what we wrote. B. I with the consonant after it says I. T says T. B, I, T. Bit. That's not the word. We want to spell bite. So how can we make the I say its name? Right? This is a one-syllable word. So if I have a vowel consonant E, or magic E, it's going to kick back and make the vowel say its name. So if I add an E at the end, the I will say its name. Now the word says bite. And you let them discover, right? You may have to work with them the first time to go back, read what you just wrote, and make sure that it says the word that you're spelling. Now, another tip is to use something other than paper when they spell the words. Start with a rough towel and have them use their finger to write the letters. Exaggerate the size of the letters, make them really big on the towel, fold the towel into 4 parts. The point is to make this a sensory experience when they're spelling. You could have them write the words on paper the following day. And the beauty of this approach, look, listen, echo, and write, is that it also works for 2 and 3 syllable words. But I'll say that for another episode. For longer words, what you're going to be doing is you're going to break it down into syllables. As I said multiple times through this episode, the words you select are really important. You want to start with easier words that can only be spelled one way. As your child becomes more familiar with the multiple ways to spell a sound, you can select more difficult words. For example, your child needs to know that the k sound can be spelled with a C or a K. There are rules that need to be introduced before you can spell these words. The child needs to know that a k sound is spelled with a K when there's an I, E, or Y after that sound. If they don't know that rule, then spelling feels arbitrary when it really isn't. That is a pretty strong rule, but many kids don't know it. Let's face it, this isn't a quick fix. It's a real fix. It's logical, systematic, and it empowers struggling spellers by teaching them how our language works, rather than asking them to memorize words. And we know that doesn't work. Be patient with your child and with yourself. Practice really does make perfect, but it's systematic and it takes time. By using these strategies, you're giving them the keys to unlock a world of literacy. So that's all we have for today on the Literacy Keys. For a free printable spelling guide on the multisensory steps that we covered today, go to the show notes or visit our website at theliteracykeys.com/resources. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with another parent of a struggling speller. Thank you. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to the Literacy Keys podcast. Follow us on social media, and most importantly, tell a friend. See you next week.